Yeah, it was pretty convincing from Real Madrid, a 3-0 victory in this last of their pre-season friendlies, and maybe more than what I thought. It might be worth discussing what Jose Mourinho thought. Just listen to him talking after the game. And I think his analysis was pretty much spot on. He said, look, it was good collectively, it was good individually, but there's still a long way to go, especially for those players who've only just joined up. He was highlighting the fact there's a massive difference between the players. Some of these players have been training for 30 days now with Jose Mourinho. They've played 6 matches, 4 friendlies, and 2 training ground games. Other players have literally had 3 or 4 days training. Jude Bellingham joined up even more recently on Wednesday. Bellingham arrived, and here we are playing this game on Sunday. So there's a big difference, Mourinho was pointing out, between the players that have been there from day one and the players that have only just started. And you can see that. You know, some of the players are not ready. Some of the new arrivals are not ready. Bernardo Silva looks rusty. You know, Mourinho had not quite a dig, but had a word or two about him the other day, saying that Bernardo Silva is a player who, really likes to or needs to kind of disconnect completely during his holidays, and basically implied that he's come back a bit out of shape. He did look a bit rusty today. I'm sure that he'll get there. Some of the other players look a lot sharper, but yeah, there's a big gap there between the players who've been for a while and the new arrivals.
Yeah, La Liga began this weekend. Obviously, Real Madrid not in action until next weekend against Espanyol. Now, Janusz, you have, as Alex said, a lot of players who have come in different stages of pre-season. As a former player yourself, how long does it take to get up to full speed from start of pre-season to where you and your body want to be?
Well, I never had a chance to play in the World Cup, which, that's an important one. It's never mind the preseason, but some of them have extended vacations. Look, I mean, today, I think we never make too much out of friendly matches, but I thought they were ready. The system of Jose Mourinho was ready. I mean, this is a team that finally has 2, maybe 3 quality players in every position. Obviously, Jose Mourinho is going to have them disciplined, and I think that will continue going forward. They never have an issue. I may slightly disagree with you, Alex, on Bernardo Silva, because I thought he was very, very good on both sides of the ball. We saw him play he can play 2 or 3 different positions, which is very, very important. I thought, in terms of shape, in terms of sitting back sometimes, in terms of how quickly they've transitioned. I don't even want to say counter, but transition. This was a very, very good game that Jose Mourinho deep down is probably pretty happy with.
As far as what he's done so far, Alex, you mentioned those 4 games and the 2 training sessions. They're unbeaten in those 4. Each game has had different positives and different negatives. When they get their campaign underway against Espanyol, how ready do you think they will be or can be next weekend?
Yeah, I think they'll be in the best shape they can be in, given the restraints that I was just talking about. I think the big thing we've learned is what Mourinho's system is going to be. It's been pretty consistent over these friendly games. It's going to be a 4-2-3-1. We can talk about Bernardo Silva, but his role actually looks pretty clear, which is in that midfield too. I know that earlier in his career at City, he was a wide player. It doesn't look like Mourinho sees him as that anymore. I know that he played more centrally for City towards the end. It looks like he'll be, in the absence of Rodri, who's going to Barcelona, he'll be the player in the middle of the park alongside either Tchouaméni or Valverde as today. We've had Ardagula playing as the number 10. That'll, of course, be Jude Bellingham when he is fully fit, having just been back for a few days. Vinny on one side. We got a first glimpse of Yan Diomande on the right wing. He came on for the last half hour or so. He's a bit short as well, just been with the team for a few days. So like I say, I think the system is pretty clear. And yeah, the strength in depth is there, that even if some of these big names aren't quite sharp, the backup, the number 2, should be more than good enough to perform for Madrid in La Liga. The other big positive, I think, is the form of SP, the big centre forward who came in from Levante, one of the best young players in the league last season, scored his 2nd goal in pre-season for Real Madrid today. Looks very sharp, looks confident. He's a finisher. He's sort of a pure goal scorer. He's going to be the backup for Mbappe, and I think he's been one of the big sort of good news stories of pre-season.
Yeah, Mbappe got the first goal after 16. Howson got the 2nd goal after 20. And SB, as you mentioned, on at halftime for Mbappe, got his 2nd goal of pre-season in the 57th minute. Good young talent coming through. Janusz, Real Madrid are slightly odds against Barcelona, understandably, having won back-to-back titles, are odds on. We don't really know what to expect from Mourinho this time around at Real Madrid. Do you think he knows and has a fair idea what he can expect?
I do. I saw it. I mean, nothing's going to change. Defensive discipline, something that, Real Madrid has always had enough going forward. But we all know what happened last season, maybe even before that defensively. I wouldn't underestimate the pairings in the back, right? Because you have Trent and Conte. They know each other from Liverpool. They understand each other, right? So it's a lot easier for a manager. On the other side, you have Huijsen and Cucurella, who's going to eventually play there, right? They know each other from Euros, obviously. So, you still have Dumfries. You have other players that can come in. So that's important. In the midfield, Alex is right. Bernardo Silva will probably play there, but remember, he can play a little bit further up. He can play on the right-hand side because today was close to maybe starting lineup. Brahim Diaz is going to miss out. I think he had a poor game, and he's just, he's a good player, but he's not going to be in the starting lineup. But one thing, the narrative of Vinny and Mbappe is gone. They both like to play on the left hand side. They interchange, which we saw today. Mbappe is the best striker in the world, no questions about it. He's learned how to play that position. Today they interchange. If you remember, on the left hand side, cross to Huijsen, who had a very good chance saved, and then to Vinny, who should have finished it really as well. So, I mean, they're deep because Bernardo Silva gives them 3 or 4 options in terms of where he's going to play. So, look, it's all on paper right now. But at this moment, I take the squad of Real Madrid over Barcelona at this moment. Rodri, of course, would change a lot. But at this moment, Real Madrid looks good.
Interesting, because Alex, there was an 8-point gap between the two sides last season. Janusz has nailed his colours to Real Madrid's mast. What would give Florent?
I'm the opposite normally, but I got to give him credit.
I'm good on you. Yeah, fine. I mean, what is the positives? What are you seeing from that? What is Florentino Perez seeing by appointing Jose Mourinho that he thinks, Alex, that this is going to be something that you can go from 8 points back and suddenly beat Barcelona and win the title?
Yeah, I think the biggest positive has been the investment in the transfer market. Mourinho being given the tools that he wants, that he asked for, in a way that previous coaches haven't been. I think that Rodri would have been a game changer. I had Real Madrid as favourites with Rodri, certainly. With Rodri going to Barcelona, I think it's much more even. But Mourinho's been given the tools. He's been given the authority. The biggest problem that Real Madrid had last season was the disharmony behind the scenes. With the coach, with Xabi Alonso, with some key players, and then between the players, between teammates, literally coming to blows in the second half of the season. Mourinho can sort that out. There are other questions, I think, about Mourinho, about whether he still is an elite coach at the highest level who can win trophies. But I think he's got the squads. And I do think if he can sort out the discipline issue and getting everybody on the same sides and sort of pointing in the same direction, I really think they can give a very good go of it and narrow that gap right down and maybe even pit past it to the title.
That's a great point, if I may continue, Mark, on that,
yeah, sure.
on that point. Because Ancelotti and Zizou, they had a soft touch with these players. And one of the problems, I don't know if it's going to be a problem, but we haven't mentioned Arda Güler, who was absolutely outstanding. He's the one who should be starting in the number 10 position. I mean, he was wonderful. He's the ultimate creator, right? Well, Bellingham likes to play there as well. And it's going to be interesting for me to see. Because, look, I mean, they're going to be playing all the competitions. And there's going to be times where, you can play Bellingham maybe against a more physical opponent and all of that. But I think these two players, especially Bellingham, will want to play. And I know he can play different positions. We've seen him play right back, right? But this is a critical position. And Arda Güler showed, not just today, that he is very, very good there. And the team clicks well. So I'm just wondering, because as I said, with Ancelotti and Zizou, it was a soft touch. With Mourinho, is my way of a highway. When you look at Bellingham, when you look at Vinny, if for some reason, maybe he has a couple bad games and he wants to put Diomande there, for example, I'm just wondering how that strong character of Jose Mourinho is going to be able to deal with that.
I think that's the intriguing question, because this is a coach that hasn't won anything apart from with Roma, when he won the Conference League in 22. He hasn't won anything since 2017. He might be the perfect fit, as Janusz and Alex have just said, with the way he manages. But it's feast or famine here. I don't think there's any middle ground, Alex, because when things go wrong with Mourinho, and when he thinks he's getting his way and it doesn't work, it can go spectacularly wrong. So the fact he's gone from this kind of coach who was a little bit more open to a bit more pragmatic, didn't lose a single game in the league with Benfica last year, but didn't win enough and finished third. Are we getting the old Jose back? Can we get the old Jose back? Or are we getting someone, as Janusz says, that it's his way or the highway? And hopefully from Perez's perspective at Real Madrid and the players, that'll be the right way to go.
Yeah, like I say, he's got the squad. He's been given the squad and he's been given this opportunity. He's been desperate, Mourinho, to come back to Real Madrid. He's never hid that. He's been open about, wanting to come back if the opportunity ever arose. I don't think he thought it would, but it has. And here he is. And I think he's been given the tools to deliver. I agree, by the way, about Gula. I think Gula's been Madrid's best player in pre-season, the most influential player, the most decisive player in the friendlies they've played. But can I see, next week against Espanyol, can I see Jude Bellingham being left out of the 11 and Arda Güler playing? Maybe only if it's justified on the basis of fitness and match fitness.